So this week we got Todd of Junk Fed Toys. He's a artist slash toy maker and makes pretty cool stuff, especially if you're into the geeketry that I'm into. Also this week I think I'll be dropping 2 new shirt designs, and we'll see what other little accessory nonsense you can get with that as well. And yeah, just remember you can also listen to our podcast. Just search TESTPLUG in any podcast app and listen to your ears bleed. Well, maybe not bleed, maybe just ooze. I don't know, is that any better? Let's hear more about what inspires and creates and goes on in the head of Junk Fed Toys. Thanks for watching TESTPLUG. All right, well, I'll do one of these numbers. Well, let's get this started. Hey, how you doing today, sir? Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. I'm doing all right. A little sniffly. Hope I'm not dying. Well, I am dying
Right.
eventually, but not soon. So can't complain.
Nice. I've well, I always do the spiel where I go through where I've met you, and I was looking for things, and realistically, as far as toy creators on Instagram, you're one of the first ones that I started following.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I'm
your
honored.
Space Madness line from way
Oh,
back
cool.
when,
Cool.
and it really
Well,
kind
that was the start of it.
Yeah.
That was the start of me. Well, it was the start of Junk Fed anyway. Right. That's how I came out of the game. So
gotcha.
Wow, thank you.
And then I read through some of your blog stuff, and it was really pretty cool. I mean, obviously I've been into toys before that,
sure,
but it really kind of sparked that whole art toy or bootleg toy click in my brain kind of thing going on.
Very cool. That makes me happy to hear. I won't take credit for you being into toys.
Well, yeah.
I feel like yeah. You had that under control.
Unfortunately, it's been a big portion of my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Same.
Where did you start off?
Where did I start off? In what respect?
Well, we'll start with art. What was your first forte into art?
Well, I've been drawing ever since I could hold a pencil.
Okay.
My father was an artist, and he would very much encourage me to draw.
Right.
And I wanted to. It wasn't something he was forcing. So we would end up drawing together a lot and kind of not competing, but collaborating on things.
Nice.
I'd draw something, he'd draw his version of it, which was better when I was little. Or vice versa. He'd draw something and I'd draw a terrible version of it. So it's just, as far as art goes, it's a constant in my life. It's like saying, when'd you get into breathing? It's just been there. But commercial art, or actually producing things to put out into the world, I remember I started in elementary school in the lunchroom. I would draw, at the time, what was popular: Bart Simpson, Freddy Krueger. And kids would pay me.
There was a kid that used to do Transformers and sell them in my school.
And I was getting like $5 a pop, which was madness.
Oh yeah.
When I was in elementary school, that was a lot of money. So, yeah, that was one of the first things that got into my head and said, maybe I can make a buck off this. That wasn't always my intent. I create art because I have to.
Right.
Something gets into my head and I have to get it out there. But it's nice when you can make a couple of bucks off it.
It doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt. I'm not going to lie.
Did you take a lot of classes that helped hone those skills, or?
I did. I only ever went to college for like an associate's. I got an associate's in fine arts. So I did the fine art, that studio art thing, art history there. But a lot of what I've learned was self-taught, just observing people that I admired and at first copying and then just kind of formulating my own, branching out from their example into my own. But yeah, like I said, art has been there since the start. So I didn't, it's not that I couldn't use classes. I still to this day could use classes, but it's just something I was constantly in practice doing.
It's that 10,000 hours. It's that, that constant.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And shortly after high school, I got some gigs doing CD cover illustrations for local bands and small.
I know that genre well.
Yeah. And then I started doing 7-inch covers for all the punk rock bands. Nice. And it just, I lucked out with it being word of mouth.
Right.
It opened up illustrations for the local magazine around here. And it just kept going from there. So, nice. So yeah, it's just been, as I think back on my art, it's been a in practice kind of thing. It's a constant.
Nice. Did you save a lot of your old stuff and like kind of thumb through it for new inspiration every once in a while? Or
I did, yeah. And sometimes something hits me, and I'll revisit a theme or just kind of redo it.
Yeah.
Come at it and go, well, now I'm better, or
right.
I'm working in a different medium.
Gotcha.
So I can approach it now with toys or sculpting, or so, it's just, I like to make stuff. I like to put something into the world that wasn't there before. So the mediums are all over the road, from illustration to writing to toy art to sculptural. But yeah, I go back quite often and look at some of my old stuff and say, what can I improve upon, or what can I use?
Nice. Does your current occupation allow you to be that creative, or is it kind of?
No, I'm an illustrator for a curriculum company.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm doing drawings for textbooks and such. Okay. So it is creative.
Yeah.
I have to use that kind of problem solving for work. Yeah.
Use skate ramps for drawing angles and all those fun things.
Right. Exactly.
So when did that turn into toy making?
I think about 6 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I could check online and look at, like, when I first started posting.
I'll put some notes in the corners.
Yeah. But I think about 6 years ago, I went into my basement with my wife at the time.
Right.
I used to be married. I'm divorced now. Bought me this like reusable silicone.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
Product. So you could make a mold of something, melt it back down, and do it over and over again. And that was the first thing. She's like, you had mentioned wanting to make toys, and I'll tell you in a minute where I got the inspiration. This was the true catalyst. She said, you mentioned wanting to make toys. Here's this reusable silicone. You microwave it and make a mold, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I microwaved this stuff, opened the microwave, and the steam came out, and it smelled like formaldehyde.
Oh, lovely.
Just all of the worst things. Like
just breathed it in. Just
yeah, I was like, oh, that's not good. And like I ran down into my basement and had like a table set up and like dipped a Darth Vader in there real quick, and he floated to the top. And I'm like, son of a bitch, it stinks. It's not working. But somehow it got into me right there.
Gotcha.
And it's like, all right, now I got to get the real stuff. I got to get good products that don't smell like corpses, and I got to figure out how to make Darth Vader not float.
Right.
So it started there.
It's a 1/2 mold. You were just doing the first half.
Yeah, it was like that. Just like part of his shoulder. It was a mess. But yeah, that product I don't recommend. I won't state its name, but the inspiration actually came from the Suck Lord.
Oh yeah.
if you're into art toys, toy art, you know who he is.
Yeah.
Um, I caught him on that TV show he was on, Work of Art,
Oh, okay. Okay.
uh, years ago, and I'm like, this guy is a character. And then when I saw what he was doing,
Right.
I was like, oh my god, I mean, I was collecting toys. That's a thing that's also been a constant in my life.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's making art with toys. He's using that as the clay or the
Right. His medium.
and I just fell in love with the concept, the notion of it, and it sat in my brain, locked up in the file cabinet somewhere for years. And then Instagram happened, or I got on Instagram,
Right.
and I saw that, I started following him, all kinds of other artists, and you follow him, and it's like, oh, other people are making toy figures, and I'm like, well, I could probably do that. And that's where I voiced it to my wife. I was like, hey, I think I want to try making toys. She's like, awesome, give it a try. And then later on brought home the corpse juice, and it was
Well, they
birthed.
still sell it, so obviously somebody's using it, or just enough people are suckered in to try it at first.
I don't. Well, maybe people also have better ventilation, or
That could be. That could be. Yeah.
I just my home microwave. I mean, pardon this guy.
No,
by the
no,
way.
no. He's featured
That's
very prominently on much of your feeds.
Yeah, yeah. He's my grumpy old man.
Nice. So you went to some better product.
Yeah.
How many? What? How? Well, let me see how I can phrase this. As far as for your first run or your first like trials, how many before you started actually like going to sell it or going to make an actual usable mold and product?
Oh, I hate saying this because I've said this to other toy artists and they get mad at me. They're like, you're kidding. The first thing I made was the Space Madness Spock Trooper.
Oh, well, then forget it. Yeah, that's all you need to say.
Outside of that shitty Darth Vader that floated,
right.
That ended up not being anything. But the Spock Trooper, I made molds. I pulled apart a Stormtrooper and a Spock figure, put them together, sculpted in the little Federation insignia, and made molds of that, cast it, and some of them came out with bubbles.
Yeah.
But I kept the molds, did a little reading on the bubbles, figured out I needed a pressure pot, got that, got a compressor, remade the molds and repoured it, but it was the first figure. I mean, so maybe I had like 2 bad figures that I tried, said this isn't working, problem solved, and finally came out with the right molds. And they weren't great. I've improved since, but that was the first thing. That was the first thing that I put out there.
Did you board and package them right off the bat, or did you just bag them?
I knew that was something I wanted to do. Just following example from Sucklord, and a big favorite of mine at the time, and still, was Killer Bootlegs.
Oh yeah.
So I said, all right, we got to go. This is how this is done.
Right.
This is the example they set forth. This is the lexicon we agreed upon. So I at the time I was working at a print shop.
Oh, well, there you go.
So I did all the graphic design.
Right.
Took it to work, printed it out, mounted it on the board, and put out. I think I did 20 in the first run of those. I put them out to see what would happen, and they went.
Yeah.
People bought them. So
I think you hit on.
Now it's encouraging.
Yeah. I think with that figure, you hit on like several like key things. It was still pretty early in the game.
Kind of. Yeah, I guess so.
Not that other people weren't doing it, but as far as the explosion on it, because there's a little bit more of an explosion now.
Yes.
But you can't go wrong with Star Wars.
No, you can't.
Star Wars people, being collectors just in a mindset, are already ready to spend some money.
Yeah.
And then begging and boarding it like it was an actual Star Wars figure, I think really, that same scale and all that stuff, I think was a good choice too. Not
Yeah,
that,
I've tried to pay attention
yeah,
to a lot of little subtleties that just amused me.
right,
I'm like, ooh, if I saw this with this thing in there, it would totally speak to me.
right,
So while I set out after the first two dummy Spocks that came out bad, and after I fixed it, and I told myself I'll sell these
right,
if people are interested. Everything that I put into it is for me.
right,
I have to be amused or delighted by something that I'm making, or else I'm not going to show anybody.
right.
I've made plenty of things that I'm like, well, it should have just stayed an idea. you know. But yeah, I appreciate that people notice the little
Oh yeah.
nuanced details that I pop in there.
Well, it's funny. So I wasn't rich growing up, so I did a lot of just toy store gazing, I'll call it,
Okay.
where I literally would basically just stand in a toy store for hours upon, at a time and just
Yeah.
look at the little features and the details and think of the creative aspect of the
That's
figures. And
awesome.
so when somebody takes that much detail and puts it into figures, I really appreciate that kind of stuff. Not that the other stuff and the creativity isn't there with other things,
Sure. Yeah.
but when they do that, it's something that I personally really appreciate. Are you somebody who draws your ideas out completely, or do you just kind of go with the mind and go with it?
It's a combination. The kit bashing stuff. There's been some instances where I pulled apart toys and maybe I'll color it online on my computer or
Right.
something digitally, and that's about all that exists of a sketch of that kind of thing. But it's just an idea that it comes into my head, and I just know where to get the parts, or I'll research where to find the right parts and
Yeah.
put it together. But there are some of the things that I've done full sculpts where it's not kit bashing,
Mm-hmm.
that have been sketched out, and I've even done mechanicals on.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that's something I'm trying to do a bit more of, but uh, everyone wants the commissions, and the commissions. I adore that these people who come to me and want to give me money to make something,
Right.
but uh, often it's not something that I would just be making for myself. It's
Yeah.
not. It's kind of a step back. They'll
Right.
say,
Right.
"Could you give me a Spock trooper?" And I can say, "Well, I'm done with that run, but I
Yeah.
can do something Spock oriented." Or so. Yeah, I get a little. It's like the barber's son, or the not making sense. The
It's the
baker's son always goes
you're
hungry.
right.
Yeah, barber's son. Oh god.
It's the cold medicine talking.
Yeah, it's actually Benadryl. So if I start to just just a guy in a chair.
I'll just pretend like you're talking at that point.
That's great. That's awesome. Uh-huh. Oh.
So, what's your favorite materials and stuff to use then?
Well, for sculpting and kit bashing stuff, especially when I'm using existing parts and toys, I use freeform earth. It's a kind of a two-part sculpting putty. You mix the two parts, and this stuff it solidifies, it hardens like a rock.
Okay.
And it's just wonderful. The sculpting on that is a little bit weird because it's more like putty or dough,
Oh, okay.
where when you press into it and pull out your tool, it kind of rises back out a little bit.
Gotcha.
But for just straight sculpting, I use a clay, I think an oil-based meltable clay called Monster Sculpt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and this stuff it's very waxy and firm, and you can carve it, you can even sand it a little bit,
Right.
and then use it like clay. So it's a wonderful material.
Do you have to use a solvent to smooth it, or?
No,
Okay.
actually you do for this one. That's right, you do. Something like I think I used rubbing alcohol.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that was so it's great. The first time I really got to work with that was on uh, a collaboration I did with my friend Cassie Hart. She's a wonderful illustrator,
Yeah.
and she has
Cute bunnies.
the little bunnies. Yeah. And the first time I saw those, I fell in love with them, and I approached her and I said, "We got to make a figure of this." And she's like, "For real?" I'm like, "Yes, let's." And so that was
And
the
that was the
one
only reason
that,
you went over and talked to her, I'm sure.
yeah, well, we ended up dating, and but yeah, she's a lovely human
Right.
overall. So, but yeah, that's the one. She came up with turnarounds for the sculpt. I got myself a bunch of tools and
Right.
just sculpted the hell out of that thing,
Nice.
and I'm still pretty happy with it. I mean, there
Yeah.
are things that I would do differently, but yeah, I think that one came out pretty rad. So
Are those
yeah,
still available on the site? I haven't actually checked your
they're
site.
not
They're not. Okay.
that run. Yeah, I think we finished it out last year. We may have had a few more left.
But her artwork is still available. I know that she is.
For yeah. So,
Nice. Trying to think, as far as your newer stuff that's really impressed me is your dinosaurs.
thank you.
Your
Thank
terrarium, almost terrarium-esque.
you. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's like I said earlier about making things for myself.
Yeah.
That is that.
Right.
That I like when I'm at flea markets or Goodwills or what have you. If there's a plastic dinosaur, I'm gonna buy it. I can't. It's some compulsion that it's a
Yeah.
buy dinosaur. It's like I must buy it. So I was doing that, and like you mentioned earlier about going back, some years ago, I was illustrating a bunch of gig posters for the local bands around here. And a lot of what I was doing is I'd have, say a wolf and do a cross section so
Right.
you could see into the wolf's belly.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And inside I'd put Little Red Riding Hood or something like that. And I was fascinated with things inside of things,
Right.
like the whole nesting doll kind of. So that just carried over. That's where that concept came from. These dinosaurs, I'd pick them up and go, huh, they're hollow. I could put stuff in them. What the hell would I put in there? And I
Well,
put
there you
more
go.
dinosaurs. So
That makes sense.
yeah, it was completely for me. I made one for Cassie,
Uh-huh.
and then other people said, "Can I have one? Can I have one?" And so I made a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to keep going because I absolutely love making those, man.
Well, it's a beautiful idea, and obviously there's no end to the amount of plastic dinosaurs out there in the world.
No.
Have people started actually sending you stuff now, or like?
No, I have had people say, "Hey, I found my old dinosaur from when I was a kid. Would you make one?" And I'd love to, but I haven't done that yet. So, but yeah, I love making those. I get a little lost in there, and those were born of the mostly of the pandemic. I mean, I really dove in making these miniature, pretty, very colorful, imaginary worlds when I couldn't really go outside much, you know? So yeah.
I'm just throwing this out there. I'm thinking Shogun Warrior Godzilla
That is, wow. Imagine that.
with some like miniature Shogun Warrior stuff
Yeah.
inside.
It's funny you say that because I was looking at some of those old, I forget who made them. It's not Imperial, but those old plastic Godzillas with movable arms. Is it Imperial?
I don't know. I look at those with caution because really quickly there's money to be just thrown out the window at those.
Right. Well, I wasn't thinking Shogun Godzilla, but I had the idea of cutting one of those open and doing it. Shogun would be beautiful, but pricey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then you just have to up the sale value, you know.
Right.
It is truly then an art toy.
Yeah. Well, if I do that, I owe you a commission. No, I don't think I could cut into one of those
Yeah, it
toys.
would be tough.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, with as far as your collections, have you always geared towards one thing for toy collecting, or
Um,
like were you a strict GI Joe guy or a strict Transformers guy? Or
I was, as a kid, I was a Star Wars guy.
okay,
It
yeah,
was
I
just,
think we've connected on that a couple different times.
yeah, everything was Star Wars. And then there was other stuff,
Right.
but it was Star Wars. That was
Yeah.
the heart. He-Man. I had some Transformers, some GI Joe, but yeah, it was mostly that. And these days, it's all over the place.
Gotcha.
It kind of, it's mostly I'm recollecting things from my childhood
Yeah.
era. Not even things I had, things that some friends had that I
Right.
was jealous of, like Shogun Godzilla, which I finally got, but I didn't have when I was a kid. So stuff like that,
Right.
or things that I remember from standing in the toy store and going, I want that. you know. Um, it's a lot of that kind of thing, and a lot of what I do is just steeped in nostalgia. I mean,
Yeah.
that's my.
It's
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a thing clearly. So I'm
Well,
not
and
alone.
it's funny because it's not just guys our age like reliving it either. There's also a lot of youth culture that is grabbing onto it, and
Yeah,
so it's not just,
yeah,
it's a universal thing, or internationally, the pop
right,
culture, where they're just learning about this stuff from the States, and so they're grabbing onto it, or
right. Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and at times I struggle with it. And I think a lot of people do.
yeah,
Um, it has a bit of a. I mean, it was a psychological disorder when it first was coined,
right,
nostalgia.
right,
So I think it's dropped out of the DSM since, but
yeah,
it very much has a negative connotation to some. And to me, I think it's just a joyful
right,
thing. It's like I have my collection room, and I walk in there on a bad day, and I just feel a little better.
right,
And
right.
what the hell's the harm in that? I mean, if I'm destitute and I'm still kind of like hoarding toys,
Right,
that might be problematic.
right.
But yeah, I'll keep my nostalgia. Thank you very much.
Well, I think like anything, especially once you get into like a little bit more of the collector world and stuff like that, you have good and bad sides to all that. I mean, like
Sure.
the resale market is just ridiculous right now, where
Yeah.
people are buying things and turning around the same, even maybe before they get it, and reselling it.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I have seen the before. Yeah, like the things online that you can order for pre-order on eBay.
right.
Why don't? Okay. But yeah, that's it is a little madness there.
So and I've seen that cycle go through a couple different times. I was big into like the early '90s X-Men.
Yeah.
That right around that same time, I had friends, little brothers and sisters that had parents running all over the countryside for Beanie Babies, like stuff like that, where it's just like
Yeah.
finally
Yeah.
got to the point where I sold everything. I just got
Yeah.
rid of everything because it was such a freedom of not having to have that in the back of your head where you have to get the next item or the next,
Right. Yeah.
thing.
Active lines or actively collecting.
Right.
You do have to draw some lines
Yeah.
and say, all right, I can't cross this point or else it's going to be bad for me.
Well, it's funny.
So,
I
yeah.
I honestly don't really buy from comic book. I love comic books, but I don't go into comic book shops just because of that. I know it's like
Oh,
it's
man.
an addiction for me.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. Same. I mean, I have quite a
Yeah.
wall of comics, and I was up until probably March, the start of the pandemic.
Yeah.
I was in there every week
Yeah.
buying comics that I knew I wanted or might want.
Yeah.
It's like, and they pile up,
Yeah.
and they take up a lot of room, and there's just that compulsory to have to go back every week. And I love supporting your local comic shop.
Yeah.
However, I got to support my local Todd. You know.
Yeah, there is some importance to that.
Yeah.
And it's, it's finding new art, or finding, especially for myself, I know that finding that new something is always addictive. That as far as like, oh, have you seen this guy's artwork? He's amazing. Well, now that's 2 more books you're collecting, or that's 3 more,
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It gets, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
It can be. So I could see why you would just kind of get rid of everything.
Yeah. So
I think I did something similar in the late '90s after all the new Star Wars stuff came out. I
that happened to a lot of people.
Yeah, and then they just kept releasing more and more and variations. And I just put it all on eBay.
Yeah.
And like dirt cheap, got rid of it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I had at one point like a 12-inch shelf of action figures all the way around my room, everything out of the package. I've always kind of been the anti-collector in that way, where everything's on display. I'm not doing it for the value. I'm doing it because this is a cool piece to have.
Exactly. I'm with you on that. I'm typically that way, unless it's a high value piece in the package, where like I might get killed for opening it. Like there's
a few of those out there, yes.
Yeah, but most things I preferred when I'd find it in a crappy package or loose, because I'm like, I want my hands. I need that tactile,
right,
to hold, to feel the piece of art, the sculpt, all of it. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Display them. But yeah, that's again. Then you have all these damn figures you have to dust around or.
Yeah, I haven't perfected that method yet.
Yeah. Good luck. I don't think anyone has. I just take a leaf blower to my collection. It blows the dust, it blows the collection, it just cleans it all up.
They need to have like some kind of like washing, well, I guess they make washing machines.
We need a machine which washes.
Exactly.
What do we call this?
But like, I guess they can make ones that are specialized in toy washing.
Yeah. Yeah, they probably do.
What's been, as far as, is there anything from your childhood that you still have, that one piece, that one special item?
I actually have a lot of pieces from childhood still. My dad held on to a lot of my Star Wars stuff.
Did you guys stay in Connecticut area pretty much growing up, or?
I was born in Massachusetts.
Okay.
And then my parents divorced and my mom and I moved to Connecticut when I was 13.
Okay.
So in New England,
right.
So the area. Yeah. But yeah, my dad held on to the Star Wars stuff.
Nice.
And so, I collected it from him some years later, I went through that I'm too old for toys phase when I was around maybe 12 to, I don't know, 19.
Oh, okay.
And then I think at 19, I was like, the hell with that. I want my Star Wars figures. So I got those from Dad, and they mean the world to me. I walk by them every day and look at them, and just, it brings back memories stronger than looking at photos, I mean, it's just like, I remember picking up that Luke off the shelf, or going to Bradley's and digging through the cards and looking for Grand Moff Tarkin for some reason, because he didn't exist, but I thought he might.
He did just hard enough.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for my B. Arthur from
Tim.
Yeah,
Tim
from Tim Barron.
He's got to make that thing, man. It's funny. I actually produced those cards.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. That's people were really into the way my cards looked.
Right.
So I started getting some work doing cards for other folks. Just production.
Right.
I mean, that's all Tim. But that's such a great one, and that B. Arthur is just the selling point.
Totally.
It's not her character name. It's a B. Arthur figure.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
It had like a flip top head thing where you could like put stuff in it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I randomly bug them about that online every once in a while.
Yeah,
Where's
yeah.
my figure? Where's my $2? Where's my $2?
Awesome.
How many collaborations and stuff have you gotten to do?
Huh. I don't know anymore. A number of them.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, yeah. I did stuff with Cassie Hart.
Yeah.
Corpse Tits
Okay.
was one. I don't know if this needs to be bleeped.
You're right in that line. You're
Okay. All right. Well, that's her Instagram
yeah.
handle. That we did her ghost hug
Okay.
uh, character. Uh, I did some work early on with special ed toys. I
Okay.
don't know if
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
I mean, I probably
Shaky Bacon
saw his stuff through your.
could be, yeah. Shaky Bacon. Yeah, it's just I'm forgetting a bunch, but
Right.
yeah, I've done a number of them, and it's fun.
Yeah.
I like collaborating with people, but there is a little bit of it's not all me. You know, I mean, there's something about
Right.
I do prefer the my stuff just going at it alone.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, you have standards. You have ideas that you kind of,
right,
Right.
right, and I don't, having to parse it through somebody else.
Yeah.
But some of them just hit just right, and that's the ones I go for, and I will go for in the future. I have nothing lined up so far, but
Well, you
yeah.
did throw a teaser out there for new figures in the lines or in the works.
Yes, I do have some new figures actually.
When
I'm
we
doing something. I'm going to be part of the Clutter Gallery does a show every year called In Action Figures,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's just a tribute to 3 point or old school action figures.
Right.
Not even 3.75, but just
four or five parts of articulation, and that's it.
Yeah, all of it. Yeah. And I've done it a number of years, and it's a great show, and it always brings out a lot of really cool art and artists. So I have something for that lined up that I'm not going to disclose.
Oh yeah, no.
I already disclosed a little bit on Instagram, but what else do I have coming up? A whole bunch of Dinoroamas. I mean, that's just in my future forever.
Yeah.
What else? And I'm doing a figure for a show called, let me see, I have it written down here, Toy Division, which is going to be a toy tribute to New Wave.
Oh.
And that's going to be happening at a toy store called Earth to Kentucky.
Yeah, I've been seeing some of their stuff here and there.
Yeah, that's a guy named Dustin,
Okay.
and I believe his wife or partner,
Yeah.
forgive me, opened this toy store, and they're doing great things. I mean, they opened it during the pandemic, which good luck to them, man. But they seem to be doing some great things, and I love the idea of this. I mean, 80s new wave, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, I think the community, the toy maker community, or the bootleg community, has done pretty good on supporting each other. It seems
pretty
like
good. Yeah. Of course, there's always some backbiting.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it seems to be a very supportive and inclusive.
Not too big of an East Coast, West Coast beef going on.
Yeah, not at all. I think there's a lot of integration in that respect. But maybe I just don't pay enough attention. Maybe they all hate each other. Maybe I don't know.
Well, the 5 now that I've talked to have been pretty cool with each other. So.
Yeah, no, it seems to be a very just chilled out kind of crowd.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people do get bent out of shape when they feel like someone else took their idea,
right.
Which is valid. But what happens a lot in this scene, and why we see a lot of repetition, is because we're all drinking from the same pool.
Exactly.
It's like I do remember someone years back getting mad at me for I made a Skeletor with Mr. T's head, and I painted Mr. T's head like Skeletor. And I was just like, It amused me,
Right,
so
right,
I made it. And someone wrote to me, he said, "Man, that's messed up. I use Mr. T." I was like, "Okay."
So did
That's like
Mr.
saying,
T.
yeah, right. And beyond that, that's like saying that's messed up. I can't believe you use blue in your artwork. I use blue. I claimed blue.
Yeah.
You can't claim. So yeah, we're drinking from a very limited
Right.
pool. So yeah, there's going to be some. People are going to happen on the same idea.
Right. Yeah, I think. I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, if you're just literally making a mold of a figure and putting out that mold, you know, that's one thing. But if you've put any creativity into it at all, you know, there is difference. I mean,
there is most certainly, yeah.
And that's the thing is you didn't create the original anyways. So what is there?
Well, that guy has gone on to sue Mr. T for using Mr. T.
Right. How dare you?
Yeah, that's incredible. But
well,
yeah,
till later you found out the guy who wrote you the letter was Mr. T.
Man, that would be awesome. in no place did it call me a fool. So
right, exactly. There was no pity to be thrown.
No. So yeah, how was I to know? Nice. Signed Mr. T.
Signed Mr. T, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the sad thing is how much I'm racking my brain right now because I know I've seen his real name somewhere and like I don't even, you know.
I can't pronounce his last name. I think it's Lawrence.
Yeah.
T something.
Right.
Lawrence T. That's his name. We'll go with that.
Have you ever thought about doing any like collaboration with your dad or anything to kind of reconnect some of that?
No. Well, he's passed.
Oh, he passed. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, but even before he passed, it's just he had stopped doing artwork sometime in his 40s. And just kind of lost creative drive, you know.
Yeah, so I went through a pretty like a 20-year spell almost of that where I still was very interested in creative things, but I personally wasn't doing anything.
Yeah. And it's something that terrifies me. That is, you know, seeing it happen to him was kind of a bummer because I really enjoyed his output.
Yeah.
Watching him draw made me giddy. And it just went away. And I worried, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to hit my 40s and lose all creative drive. And I hit my 40s and it skyrocketed. Yeah. It's like I started making more stuff. So, you know, I'm my own man, I guess. Good.
Well, we're all benefiting from it. So keep going.
Oh, right. Yeah, I have to. Yeah. I have to keep doing it. So I appreciate people enjoying what I'm making.
Yeah,
well, that's just the size of it.
Nice. This has been fun, man. I
appreciate it.
Like I said, you're one of the first people that I started following in this genre.
Right on. Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to more stuff.
Awesome. Well, I'll have more shortly.
Cool beans. Well, at this point, thanks for watching TESTPLUG, and we'll see more from Todd Rogers, aka JunkFed. And have a good day, man.
Be good.
Next week, we'll have an interview with Tom Moore, a musician that I've known for quite a while. He's currently out of Baltimore, but he's been a little around the world also. Thanks for watching TESTPLUG.